presentation, and I wish I can figure out how can I put my camera on, but I guess when I will stop sharing the document. Anyway, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases SBIR program. And I wish I can see you all in person, but maybe sometime next time, yes. I'm not going to talk today in details about the program. You have a previous several, I believe, NIH speakers, but again, I want to show you this site. It's an NIH SBIR program seed office site, where you can find a lot of information, how to apply, infographic, basically step-by-steps, how to apply, what's going on with reviews, how it's going to review. Anyway, it's a very helpful site. And maybe you heard this already, or you saw this slide. I'm afraid I will repeat this sentence quite often because it was few NIH speakers. Anyway, the whole program at NIH, it's more than $1 billion. It's quite a lot of money. For SBIR, 3.2% set aside, for STTR, 0.45%. And maybe for some of you don't know what this means, set aside, each federal agency by law needs to set 3.2% for SBIR program from their extramural budget, and for STTR, again, 0.45%. The good news about this, that they cannot use this money for management. They cannot use this money only for SBIR program, which is good for us. In case of NIAID, we are the second largest institute. National Cancer Institute is the largest one, then NIAID. For 2000, actually it's a mistake, fiscal year 2022, we have almost $189 million. All this money, most of this money will go to support SBIR, STTR contracts, grants, and cooperative agreements. And again, I'm not talking about the program phases. You heard this all, or you already, I'm sure, know. But again, phase 1, only awarded phase 1 grantees can apply to phase 2, research and development, and then phase 3 commercialization phase with non-SBIR money. But there is several additional mechanisms which we NIAID are participating. You can use fast track mechanism. We have phase 2B, and on my next few slides, I will talk about each of these mechanisms. And my apologies again if you heard already, or maybe you're expert, you know this, but I will repeat it. Then we also have direct to phase 2 and commercialization readiness program. Fast track mechanism. I actually really like this mechanism. If you're not familiar, this is a process when you could submit phase 1, phase 2 application together as one package. It will go through the review, get one score, and the big benefit of this mechanism that, for example, at the end of phase 1, you will write progress report, send it to your program officer, and if it's approved, then budget money for phase 2, you will get maybe a couple of weeks later, which is actually very nice because you heard before, you will apply to phase 1, you will wait maybe 9 months, then you will need to apply to phase 2. Again, fast track definitely will help you to get budget for phase 2 faster. But be careful if you decided to go to use fast track. First, you will need to have a really strong commercialization plan for phase 2. Second, sometimes it can be a little bit more scrutiny from the side of reviewers because they're looking on the whole package and they maybe have some concerns if phase 1 will be successful or not. But I highly recommend actually to look into this if your company already strong and generates significant amount of data. Direct to phase 2 program, it's basically designed for small businesses who have completed phase 1 milestones with non-SBIR funds. And it's allowed for small businesses who are ready to apply to phase 2, bypass phase 1 grants. Keep in mind, it's only SBIR program, not STTR. And this application type now included in SBIR Omnibus program announcement. Again, as I said, it used to be separate for, but you can just use it when you're applying to Omnibus. Some institutes, not all of them, and therefore you need to talk to program officer, have so-called phase 2B, competing renewal award. It's for technologies. If, for example, you phase 2 awarding, you need additional funding and additional time, you can consider phase 2B. In case of NIAID, it's only SBIR mechanism, not STTR. Again, talk to, if you're planning to apply to another NIH institute, talk to program officials to see if they have this actually mechanism. Budget-wise, awards up to 1 million per year, up to 3 years. Also keep in mind that some institutes will ask for additional funding from third-party investors. Not NIAID. We encourage, but it's not mandatory. Again, if you're thinking about this mechanism, talk to program staff to discuss. Not all ICs and IHICs have this opportunity. Omnibus Solicitation. I'm sure you heard today about Omnibus Solicitation. It's a parent announcement. Almost, I believe, maybe 80% of all applicants are using Omnibus Solicitation because the mission of this program announcement is so broad. Basically, almost everything, if your project is related to improve human health, it can be within the mission of Omnibus. And again, from 27 institutes, 24 are participating in small business program, and therefore Omnibus, it's a great solicitation. We have 4. 2 of them clinical trials required, SBIR and STTR, and clinical trials not allowed, SBIR and STTR. Keep in mind, in case of my institute, we are not participating in Omnibus clinical trials required, only clinical trials not allowed. And for Omnibus Solicitation, we have 3 due dates, January 5th, April 5th, September 5th. As I said, we are not participating in Omnibus clinical trials, but we have a separate program announcement, so-called NIAID SBIR Clinical 2 Clinical Trials Implementation Cooperative Agreement, U44. This program announcement supports implementation of clinical trials from small business concerns that propose clinical trials in research area within the mission of our institute. These 4 will accept phase 2, phase 2B, fast track, and direct to phase 2 applications. If you're seeking only phase 2 support, you must receive SBIR phase 1 support that are appropriate and relevant to preclinical studies, planning activities, and so on. Again, it's applied only to SBIR program. My advice, if you feel that you actually can use this program announcement, please take a look because it's an interesting program. Success rate is pretty high because we're not getting so many, you have to be really, not so many small business companies are at this level, And you can read that I put a couple of links, question and answers for this program announcement. Just you can read and get more information. Also, I put email address. If you're considering this program announcement, send email to this email address. It will come to me, but I will need to look on your abstract, and I have in each division point of contact specifically for this U44 program announcement. Some divisions, they will ask for prior consultation before submission date. Sometimes they want to have like 8-10 weeks before submission date. And sometimes they will ask for white paper, but it's very helpful if you will talk to program officials before you will decide to apply to this program announcement. If you're not sure about your project, is this project will be considering as clinical trial within NIH, please take a look at this tool, Clinical Trials Funding Opportunities Decision Tree. You can actually answer several specific questions, and this tool will guide you and will lead you to a certain program announcement, which can help you, you can use to apply. Again, Clinical Trials Funding Opportunity Decision Tree, and if you will click, it will be a link to this site. You heard about Commercialization Readiness pilot program. I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but I just want to mention it's for previously or currently funded phase 2 and phase 2B grantees. It's another mechanism which will allow you to get additional funding to help you to move towards commercialization. Within NIH, we have 3 program announcements, but 2 of them so-called larger Commercialization Readiness program, technical assistant and late stage development, 1 clinical trials not allowed, and another 1 clinical trials required. And the third one, smaller program, commercialization readiness pilot program, technical assistant, clinical trials not allowed. In case of our institute, we are participating only in clinical trials not allowed. And what I would like to say, again, budget, you can, this program can provide up to 3 million in additional funding for the project. This CRP can fund work which typically not supporting through phase 2 or phase 2B awards. And there is a list of the some additional activities can be funded. But I also would like to say, as you all know, for phase 2 by law, 50 companies, small business will do 50% of work and 50% can be subcontracted, yes? But for this program, there is not even numbers. It can be actually a small business can subcontract up to maybe 80, 90%. But of course, small business still need to do the job. But again, it's a very good program announcement, another opportunity to move towards commercialization for small business grantees. I want to mention also about contract solicitation. And again, I'm sure you heard about this. About maybe 80-85% of money NIH funding goes to support grants, but about maybe the rest of the money goes to support SBIR contracts. Right now, solicitation for fiscal year 23 is closed already, but for fiscal year 2024, it's going to be open approximately at the end of July of 2023. Our institute, we will have 13 SBIR contract topics. Also keep in mind, because of government and acquisition regulations, if you will reach out to me, I cannot provide you information. If you have questions related to SBIR contracts, you need to go to Institute Contracting Officer. In case of NIAID, it's Charles Jackson. Basically, you will send him email, he will send email to me with question, I will give him the answer and you will get the answer. But again, by law, I cannot, provide because it's contracts. Just as an example, I put link for program solicitation of 2023. And you also can go at the NIH SBIR seed office, you can find information there. And I also put on this slide just example of SBIR contract topics from the solicitation, which is closed now, NIAID, yes? Did I mention not all ICs are participating? For 2023, I believe only 5 institutes were participating in this contract solicitation. I don't know how many will be next 2024. And also very quickly, this is very simple, but just because I'm getting these questions, what's the difference between contracts and grants? With grants, you guys will write your specific aims, it's your idea. With contracts, basically, institute will tell you what we're looking for, what we would like for you to be done. Saying this, if you feel that, for example, you can actually apply, and contract topics are very small. Basically, it's 2 pages only. I highly recommend you to apply because, again, success rate may be twice higher versus grants because basically less people are applying. Again, once a year, contract solicitation, highly recommend you to check this, sometimes end of July. Let's talk about our institute, our structure. We have 4 extramural divisions: Division of AIDS, Division of Allergy, Immunology, Transplantation, Division of Microbiology, Infectious Diseases, Division of Extramural Activities. Division of Extramural Activities, small business program is under this division, grant management, policy, acquisition office. And the previous, I mentioned 3 divisions. It's basically almost all budget of these 3 divisions going to support grants, contracts, and cooperative agreements. Yes, from these 3 divisions. Then we have Division of Clinical Research, Division of Intramural Research, and Vaccine Research Center. I put a link to high areas of priority of each division, and if you decide to apply to us, very helpful to check these pages, what actually division is doing and what are our areas of high priority. When COVID happened, our workload increased maybe, I should say, maybe 65-70%, because we got so many applications, because a lot of applicants were in depression that we got additional money funding for COVID. Yes, NIAID did got additional funding, but not for small business program, for vaccine development. And at that time, it was published several notices of special interest with expedite reviews. Unfortunately, now most NIH institute made a decision to expire this COVID-related notice of special interest. I put the link here. Right now, there's very few announcements, but sometimes you can see additional announcements. It's not SBIR, but some of them, small business, are eligible to apply. Maybe when you have time, you can take a look. Also, keep in mind that within NIAID, we have many resources available to the research community to facilitate product development, including in vitro testing service. I also put a link, NIAID resources for researchers. And I also highly recommend to check this site. It's Biodefense Emerging Infection Research Resource Repository. It's basically a repository that supplies organism and reagents to a broad community of microbiology and infectious disease researchers. Materials are available through online catalog. The good news, there is no charge for researchers for research materials. Sometimes shipping and handling fees may apply. Also, another good news, you don't need to be grantee of our institute or another NIH institute in order to apply. And I put a link how to get started. Link registered, and you can place your orders through online catalog. Let's talk about budget. This is getting this question a lot. Of course, everybody wants to know what money we can get, applicants can get. I'm sure somebody mentioned before, this is some numbers from SBA. Every year SBA will increase these numbers because of inflation. And right now it's almost 300K for phase 1, and for phase 2 awards, about 1.9 million for phase 2 awards. But NIH recognized that some biomedical innovation required additional funding. How it used to be, like especially with NIAID, some samples are very expensive, or research very expensive, and applicants will write email to me asking for a higher budget. I will reach out to NIH SBIR office and wait for the approval. Now NIH again received a list of research topics, so-called waiver, from Small Business Administration. Every year we will review and get another approval from SBA. There is a link, SBA approved waiver eligible topics. And in case of NIAID, our topics, our program wrote actually these topics very broad on purpose. And believe me, almost all our applicants applying for waiver topics, not for SBA numbers. In case of NIAID, and keep this in mind, that these numbers I'm going to say next, it's only for NIAID, because other institutes have different budget limitation for waiver topics. In case of NIAID, for phase 1, you can request up to 300,000 total cost per year, up to 2 years. Basically, for 2 years, you can request up to 600,000. For phase 2 or phase 2B, you can request 1 million per year, up to 3 years. Also, no need for additional pre-approvals. No pre-approvals is required, because when you will submit your application, all eligibility and budget and everything will be checked by grant management at the time of the award. And but you need to be careful if you request higher budget, because budget should well justified in your budget request, And your science in your application should match budget request, high budget request. The reason why I'm saying this, because as you know, your application will be, reviews will be looking scientific merit, but they will put one sentence related to budget in the summary statement. They will say, keep the budget as requested or reduce the budget. You need to be sure that you're not going to get reduce the budget. Otherwise, our program will be not able to do anything. But again, 300K per year up to 2 years, and for phase 2, 1 million per year up to 3 years. And you heard previous speaker was talking about a technical and business assistant. Again, for phase 1, 6,500 per year. If you're requesting for 2 years, you can double this number. And for phase 2, 50,000 for the life of the project. And this to addition of the total number of the award I mentioned before. And as a previous speaker also said, request within application, you need to provide a description of technical and business assistant that your vendor will provide. Surprisingly, but not so many people knows about this. I also want to show a few slides, kind of, I hope it will help you. First of all, talk to us. And again, I'm learning, I'm doing presentation quite often. And I recently, a couple of days ago, I did presentation and people were really surprised when I said, talk to us, because some of them were thinking that they can talk to us only after they apply. No, please talk to us early and not 2 days before submission days. Believe me, I was getting emails like this. Can you take a look at my specific aims 2 days before submission day? No. I put my name if you decide to apply to our institute. What we ask, and also if you send an email, please attach short abstract, half a page. Then I can see if it's within the mission of NIAID. And if it's within the mission, I will find you subject matter expert from extramural division, and you can set up a call and discuss science with us and my team. We can set up a call and discuss policies, rules, how to help you to apply. There is a link where you can find each program officials from the institute. And again, as I said, non-confidential abstract will definitely help me to figure out where your project can go. Gosh, also very important, submit earlier. Just we pass submission date, and believe me, the last day is so many concerns. We cannot help you help at the last moment. We cannot, and you feel always bad because it's a lot of work to write application and submit. Anyway, use these 2 windows, viewing windows, during which application can be rejected, changed, submitted again, because it will help you if there is some concerns or issues, you can at least fix it. There is a late policy, but the reasons this policy should be very serious, death in the family or some big, huge tornadoes or something. Don't rely on this. But if you will submit it late without an acceptable reason, it will be caught and withdrawn. I also want to mention application. When you submit your application, is going to submit it to NIH, not to the institute. And even if you decide to apply to NIAID, it will go to NIH, to Central Scientific Review Referral Office. Even if you're not sure which institute you want to apply, referral office will assign you. But saying this, very important that you know the institute you want to apply and you know what institute actually is looking for. And the reason why, because some institutes are publishing pay line. NIAID, my institute, we are publishing pay line. If you will hit the magic number, pay line or below, you will get your money, no question asked. But if you get a good score, but it's above fundable range, sometimes at the end of the year, we have additional money. If division really like your project, there is a ways to support it. And therefore, again, it is important to know what institute, what divisions are looking for. And therefore, the link I gave you on the slide about our divisions can help you. But if you're not sure, the NIH Central Scientific Review will assign your application. And if you want to get experience, there is a link how to become a reviewer. I'm not going to talk about this slide. You just saw this slide. Just in red on this, each step, you will see with whom you can talk about your application. Yes, I mean, also keep in mind, sometimes program directors, program officials, program officers, they actually listen your review in silence mode. And therefore you can, after the review, you can actually kind of, if you establish relationship, and I always advise actually to establish relationship with your program officer. When you submit your application, I believe maybe in 1 week you will see the names, who is going to be your grant manager person, who is going to be your program officer. I advise establish relationship. I'm not saying to call every day, but to be sure, because you know they are busy. In our institute, our program officers hold not just small business grants to compare like a National Cancer Institute SBIR. Their program officers hold only small business grants. In our case, sometimes they have R01, R21s, and small business grants. It is important that this program officer know you and kind of, you know, maybe support your application if division really like it. And I believe you also saw this slide, if you submit due dates, September 5th, your award you will get around sometimes in March, January 5th, July, April 5th, September or December. I highly recommend, and again, apologies to repeat, you saw this form. I highly recommend to use this optional form, assignment request form, because again, you can request institute assignment and you can also request up to 3 institute. Because sometimes, you know, within NIH, science can be overlap between different institutes. And as previous speaker mentioned, for example, you got a good score, but our pay line is lower. I can reach out to another institute from this forum and ask if they have money. And who knows, additional way to opportunities to get funded. You also can request study session assignment in this forum. And you also can identify conflicts. You cannot recommend reviews. Yeah, but you can, I highly again recommend to use this form. If you're not sure about the study session, okay, I think I have another slide. Keep in mind cover letter. All this information used to be that you can request in cover letter, not anymore. In cover letter, it can be used only for few, I put just few examples. Explain why application is late, provide notice of plans to submit a video, and if you have a large-scale genomic data. And again, as I said, in cover letter, you cannot request assignment, you know, or study session. And I put a link if you want to read more about cover letters. Also, cover letter, it's only for internal NIH use. Reviews are not going to see it. And I mentioned study session. If you're not sure actually which study session you would like to request, first of all, program officers is the best source of information, but this tool can be very helpful. You will open the site. I put a link. First of all, I put a list of study session link. You can select SBIR, put short paragraph or a couple of sentences about your project. Click search, and it will give you maybe 3-4 study session recommendation. I highly recommend also to use this tool. Just few facts to remember. As I mentioned, eligibility is determined at the time of the award. A PI not required to have PhD, MD, but required to have expertise to oversee projects scientifically and technically. Not required to be US citizen, but must legally reside in the United States. Applications may be submitted to different agencies for similar work, but you cannot get award twice. And you can switch between SBIR and to, if you, for example, phase 1 SBIR and you want to go with phase 2 STTR, you can do it, or the other way. Again, you can switch between SBIR and STTR programs. A sample of applications. We actually were the first one at NIH for quite a bit who posted samples of applications. I even put NIH SBIR office told us that our samples are the most requested NIH requested source of information. But now Aging Institute have samples and National Cancer Institute also have samples of applications. But be careful when you're using, because NIAID changing forms so quickly. Now we with forms H, always check guide, SF 424 guide. I put new links to the guide from 2022 and forms H again. And some links for documents can help you, like grant policy statement, tutorials, annotated forms that are actually forms G. Sorry, I need to change this, yes. We also have application assistant program, but I'm very proud of my program because about 10 institutes are participated in an NIH application assistant program. We have our own. We subcontracted a company, Foresight company, and their consulting actually focus on NIAID mission. The same like an NIH program, it's no cost for applicants. It's actually so popular. We're doing this the third year. And it's on the first come, first serve basis. We have 35 slots for each cycle, 3 cycles a year. And normally in half a day, slots are taken. It's designed, again, consulting people, they're not going to write application for you, but they will help you, give you professional guidelines. Crafting, to help you to craft strong application. Then they have some support, proposal development training, customized one-on-one application assessment and post-submission support. Again, 35 slots. I put here kind of draft schedule for 2023. Before each enrollment date, we have webinar, application assistant webinar to give you more information. You can subscribe to the list, or you can send me email. I will connect you with with a woman from my team who is leading on this program, and she can also provide you information when the program will be ready to open. On this slide, I put some eligibility. Again, research area within the mission of NIAID. Company can submit, again, somebody who want to apply to phase 1 or who want to apply to phase 2, phase 2B, fast track, or direct to phase 2 SBIR STTR applications. Registration are highly recommended at the time when you're applying. Obviously, within 6 receipt day, phase 2 applicants must be within the first 6 receipt dates, and follow NIH rules, eligibility rules in order to apply. A very successful program. I'm very proud and very happy about this program. Reporter, you also heard about Reporter. Again, if you are not sure which institute you want to use to apply, use Reporter. You will open the Reporter site. In the search box, put a few keywords of your technology, click search, and give you similar funded applications and the institutes they apply. But also, if you will click on this site, so-called detail button, it will give you names of the program officials assigned to this application, and therefore you can actually even know who is program officials. Yeah, there is a matchmaker function. You can put the whole paragraph. It will also help you to do the search. And scientific review groups also can be located at Reporter. Another government spending site. It used to be Federal Reporter, but the Federal Reporter retired, and there is a new site, Government Spending by Agency. You also can do the search and get some information here. Additional slides with some links. I mentioned some of them, but you can take a look and hope it will help. And this is my team. If you will reach out to me, sometimes some of them will, maybe somebody from my team will reply and provide needed information. And I'm done. Thank you so much.